afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much for joining us for the GEG event this afternoon. We're very excited that there are over 20 schools represented in this room, and even one university, my favorite one. We're very excited to have you here. We've also got some people watching the live feed that we are broadcasting using Hangouts on Air, which will allow us to also make this event available on YouTube afterwards. So if any of your colleagues are not able to be here, or you feel like they've missed out, hopefully you're all going to feel like they've missed out on something, you can always send them the link to watch the YouTube feed once the event is over. We'll be posting that on our Google Plus page, etc. So a bit more about that later. The details of the most important thing right now, I guess, are behind me. So if you're not on the Wi-Fi network yet, you're welcome to join us. And then please, we'd like you to tweet or post on Google Plus or any social media about this event, about what you're learning. I know there's some people who like to use Twitter for their notes or that kind of thing. So if you'd like to do that, then that would be great. And also it helps us to connect with each other afterwards. So we've created a little hashtag GEG share for this event. So if you want to use that in your posts, then we can keep in touch and continue this learning community after this afternoon's event. So besides the blue screen, yes? So lock you in and then you won't. Okay, let's leave myself in, and then we won't have a blue screen. Right, so my name is Lindsay Wester, and that's over there is Jenna Bortman. We are the two co-leaders of the Cape Town West Coast GEG Group. For those of you who don't know, GEG stands for Google Educator Groups, and there are GEGs all around the world, which basically are little communities of teachers who get together to share their ideas and experiences around Google Apps for Education. And that's kind of the heart behind this event, that we wanted to not have us as leaders present and tell you everything we know, but to give different people a voice and allow us to have the opportunity of learning from each other. That we kind of get into our ruts of how we do things, and maybe even how we use Google Apps, or if we're just starting, we only know a little bit, and there's really great value in learning from each other and sharing. So that's the heart behind this event, and I really trust that it's going to be a valuable one. But just in case you thought you were here to be a passive audience, I'm going to hand you over to Deirdre to make sure that the afternoon slump is not hitting you all.
And just to warn you, I am a foundation-based teacher.
Yeah.
Like, I love movement, I love getting up. So if you have a device on your lap at the moment, please stow it safely underneath either the seat or exits at the rear. No, I'm joking. No, seriously, if you have a device, just put it somewhere safe because you're going to be moving right now. Okay. We are all educators, as we said, from different schools at the moment. And we would like to actually get to know each other a little bit, to network a little bit. So we've got a fun little icebreaker that we're going to do for the next 5 minutes, which will give you a chance to introduce yourself to somebody you don't know. Just find out where they're from, what school they're from, what age do they teach. And then these are things that's very close to my heart. So I hope you enjoyed it. If your device is safe, Darren, he's like my school, so I can't give him on this corner. Right, so we will have 4 quadrants that you can move in. If I look this way, number 1 will be in that corner. The first one I can't remember where was 2. Okay, 2 will be on that corner, 3 will be in that corner, and 4 will be in that corner. So depending on your choice, what we put on the screen, you will move into that corner. And as I said, then just say to somebody, hello, my name's Deirdre, and I'm a foundation-based teacher.
Or I'm a fan of friends.
Or I'm a fan of friends. So you can decide. So, devices away, everything fine. Nobody's going to steal anything while you're out to speak. This is a safe place at the moment. Right, so if you're a Friends fan, this corner. Game of Thrones, that corner. Lobster chips, that corner. This corner over there. Vision plan. Are you ready to change? In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Woo! If you're a scorer in that corner, if you don't watch properly, that corner. If there's one more, we
Yeah, almost I stand in the middle.
Come and have a seat again, please. Find your way back. Can we switch the Apple TV, please? So we decided to shake things up a little bit and not give a specific order as to who would be sharing. First of all, thank you to those of you who have volunteered to share with us today. We really do appreciate it. We wouldn't have had an event necessarily without being able to share. So thank you. So we're going to play a game that's almost as fun as spin the bottle, called Spin the Wheel. And we are going to decide on who our first presenter will be and then also who our second presenter will be so that you have a little bit of time to emotionally prepare. And basically what we'll do is you can come up, we'll help you connect depending on which device you have. We'll help you connect and then you can present. And then obviously after you've presented and shared your story or whatever it is that you want to share, then you can answer any questions there might be from the audience or anything like that. And then while the person's answering questions, then the next person will come up and start the presentation. So that way we get the best use of time and everybody has a chance to breathe and all of that.
And not just questions. I mean, if you wonder anything, if somebody said something that you've tried and they're like, oh, this didn't work in my class, why? So it opens the floor for some discussion that we can have. All right. We're going to do it. We'll have two people sharing, and then we will have like a pop-up, like a, yeah, you learned something today. So Alistair's going to do, you guys know Alistair? Alistair Way. Alistair's from this wonderful company called GEG. If you ever wonder anything about Google, you can ask Alistair or the lovely Mr. Kevin Sherman, who's there. He's also waiting. He's American, so take him with a pinch of salt. Okay, so they are from GEG, who is a Google certified partner. And so if you have any questions, you can ask him. So we'll have Alistair with a little pop-up, we'll have Lindsay with a little pop-up, and then I might do one at the end as well. So you learn something while you're here as well today. All right. Are you ready to spin this wheel? Yes. Okay, let's go. Spin, expeditor. It's so suckers on. Lee, Alice, Louis. Wait. Yay! We got that. I'm going to spin for the second one. Are you ready? Hold the breath. We're trying to actually do that. Oh, but I didn't put your name.
So when you put forward your proposal, you put forward a time, that is your time limit. I will open the doc if necessary, and if you're blabbing on, we will be quite assertive and ask you to kindly wrap it up so that we can get to hear everybody's story this afternoon. Okay, so you indicated on your little submission 2 minutes to 5 minutes, etc. Let's try and stick to those as much as we can. Great.
That's the point of that.
And first class you off. And first class you off.
Yes, well, is this going to be sound with it? I mean, it's only a bit later, so I can kind of post it on, if that's fine.
That doesn't reply to the email. Asking, do you need some?
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Louis Pinar. I am an educator here at Parkland Secondary College. And yeah, I'm here. This is my first one of these properly. So I'm taking it very literally in terms of showing and telling. I'm going to show you guys something, a project that we got involved in here in the English department, English/History department at Parkland, and just kind of share the experience. I want to travel back in time a little bit though, and go to quite a momentous occasion. The first Sega game console came out in 1983. Kind of depending on who you are, it might inspire different kind of responses or emotions. It could be fear, it could be hatred, it could be nostalgia and joy. But what this introduced was a mainstream access to playing games that hasn't existed before. Obviously, playing games had been around for as long as humans have been around. But this kind of level of mainstream access, where anybody with a TV with a cheap screen could suddenly become a knight in shining armor, or could race in the Dakar Rally or something like that, kind of never happened before, and this is where it started. Now, we can go 30, 40 years to the present, and kind of see how that has evolved. This is the top grossing game on Monday. Note free games on the App Store, made 25 million rand grossed just on Monday alone. This is from a well-known TED Talks, despite, but cumulatively, humans spend about 3 billion hours a week playing online games altogether. So obviously, something has happened where it's global. This is not just something that kids do when they're trying to run away from homework, just considering what I'm going to be talking about. But it really has integrated daily life, regardless of age. And that's kind of the important thing, is that gamers have grown up. The people that were kind of that grew up with these music Sega consoles, arcade games, the start of the internet and massive open online games, they've grown up, and what we've seen is a growing acceptance of kind of just like fun and play in what you do in the business world. You guys know this is Tom from MySpace, the first friend that any of us that joined MySpace would have had. So yeah, so what this means is that kind of luckily the world has caught up, and games are good. Games are great. Again, this is infiltrated, I'm sure, as you've seen, in the corporate sector. It's infiltrated in marketing. So the corporate world has really accepted this. The educational world, a little bit slower, and it's quite a pity. Banks are better at making a game out of banking than teachers are at making a game out of learning. So what's grown is, what's happened is the divide between schoolwork and games has also kind of started to break down, which should come as a great relief to teachers. Games are not something to compete with, but rather, if we think like a gamer, and if we think like a game designer, we can actually utilize a lot of these game design elements and use them to our advantage, and not compete against games, but rather use them. So this is what happened with us here at Parkland. The ever-progressive head of department, Lee Morris, came to me a couple of months ago, and she just kind of suggested it. She just kind of said, we're doing the Cold War next quarter, and I want to look at how we can gamify it. And really kind of Yeah, enjoyed myself. And kind of went deep. So just kind of the basics, in case you haven't heard of this before, but to gamify basically just means, it's great that this has become a verb, to apply game concept, design concepts to anything, right? So anything can be gamified, whether it's getting kids to eat broccoli or whether you are trying to teach accounting, it can be gamified. Right, so when I started kind of thinking about this project, this seems to be the kind of central tension, central difficulty is how to merge educational outcomes, the pedagogy, how to merge that with elements of game design, play. So where to find the kind of bridge between pedagogy and play was the overall challenge. In that, I found that I had three difficulties, and the reason why I'm sharing this with you is to kind of, if you try something like this, this happens, okay, somebody that you can empathize with, and just some of them I found have solutions. Now, the first difficulty that I faced is I'm not a programmer. There were no pre-made apps that work for this to play Cold War game, and I'm really bad with glue and scissors and making an arts and crafts kind of thing. Never been good at it, and I think I've given up on it in life. So this is a daunting issue, because games are big and flashy, and they seem to have a lot of 3D graphics developed into them. So it's a bit daunting as a teacher. How do you make a game? The moral of the story is it's not impossible, but this was a worry. Another difficulty is, of course, how do you generate the same levels of excitement in a war game like the Cold War that we were supposed to do up against competitors such as Call of Duty, Battlefield, these StarCraft, Wizards and Dragons, and there's a lot of excitement going on. It's a lot of stimulation going on as well, and it's very hard for a teacher and for any learning program to kind of compete with that. But once again, it seemed it became less of an issue, and what I found was not to underestimate students and children, not to underestimate the kind of challenges that they actually want. Even those games like Battlefield or Quake Arena, with monsters exploding, the explosions are the bells and whistles. Behind that, there are elements of game design that make that game addictive, and that's what we should be focusing on, and not the violence or the kind of 3D graphics. Lindsay?
Yes.
Okay, so difficulty. And this to me was kind of the most interesting problem of the whole thing. Was if you're teaching history, which is often cast as a kind of linear set of events of cause and effect and things that definitely happen. You learn that in 1989 the Berlin Wall fell. What we found, the issue is that with a game, you need choice. Game, you need people to be unpredictable. Okay, someone has a chance of winning. Okay, so what we did was, this is what we ended up with. Okay, this is the lesson that I kind of just want to bring across to you guys in total, right? I'm going to speed up the rest here, over plan. Yeah, no problem. Okay, but the main lesson that I kind of wanted to bring across to you guys is that designing a game does not require a special app or programming skills. It just requires a way of thinking. And the simplicity of Google Apps and its integration, what it affords, we all know the basic Google Apps. But what I found was the simplest apps work the best in order to facilitate this process. So you have to think about what is a game. Games have a goal, games have rewards, games are social, games are fun. They have rules, they have choices, they require feedback. I think you can put all of this underneath a summary of what education is. It's almost the same thing. It's just about trying to align them. So this is what we ended up with. I'm going to end it there. We ended up with a game also in the Cold War, where the groups were divided. They could either be communist Russia or capitalist USA, and they were given rotating responsibilities for weekly tasks, and which then come for points, and they would accumulate, and whoever got the most points won the Cold War. A very skills-based approach, and this was the video we ended up with. I'll end there. There you go. So yeah, the response we got from the kids, they rated it an average of 8 out of 10. They seem to love it. So the message from me to you today is, don't need to be a professional Google apps in order to make an awesome learning experience for kids through gamification. Thank you.
Sure. Okay, I have a question now.
Yes.
So did they collaborate on making the video to put all the information together?
No, that video was our intro book. What they did was a kind of series of tasks.
Yeah.
That happened every week. So one thing I could have prefaced with is that we've merged English and history, and we've kind of combined those periods, which has worked extremely well because it allows you to bring in English skills, language skills, critical analysis, identifying bias, all these things, stereotypes, all these things that are in the English curriculum that are very applicable and necessary in the history curriculum as well. So every week's task would be do a propaganda radio broadcast using emotive language, or crack a code in order to solve a military dilemma in Vietnam, or so kind of challenges that are also game. I mean, I could we're going for ages about that, because it was for a whole term. It's a lot of planning, and you gotta pay attention to detail. But if you've got a hardworking team that kind of converts, it works. And if you set it up well, the better you set it up beforehand as well, the less work you actually have to do later. I think that was the big learning curve for me this year, was what you set up at the beginning can just really make your life so much easier. You can set it up in a way that you can purely facilitate the rest of the process.
Has anybody else tried something like this? Simone?
Well, not in a game format, but having something set up beforehand and then letting it run.
Yeah.
Definitely plays off.
But was it easier the second year round? Because I think that's what we found as well. The first time you realize you left out this, you left out that, oh, this isn't working. And then the second year round, it was actually a lot easier.
Yeah.
The first year was just hiccups learning.
Yeah, the results get better.
Travis?
No, you said that they gave it an 8 out of 10, but they're making suggestions on how to improve that.
Yes, and it is. I've got the forms here somewhere, but I think we don't have time to look it all. It was some things that we had foreseen, because one thing about games, and this is on that list, is the immediate feedback that you get from games, and it's a very integral part of how games are made, is the fact that the moment you do something, the Pavlovian dog kind of setup is immediate, and it's very hard for teachers to be able to mark a whole class worth of stuff and give them marks back. But it's not impossible. That's definitely room for improvement. I mean, you can use Google Forms to have daily tests that it calculates the points for you, and we use Google Sheets for the scoreboard and the points, where you can just input weekly points and it works out the total for you. Really simple. And you could definitely align that with Google Forms as well, where you're gonna. I mean, there's a lot of opportunities opened up to be throughout this process.
I'm just thinking as well, because it's been teacher heavy. Sometimes, I mean, with all workload, sometimes then just another schlep to start a project like this. So what you could also, just off the top of my head, could you not get some of the learners that finished this project now to collaborate with the new students doing it this year?
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Just some feedback and some how you do it better and maybe challenge them that it's creation based from their side then.
No, so the feedback from the students has been generally very positive. What's interesting with these things though is that, and we found the same thing with last quarter when we did another project-based learning that Leah developed, that often students kind of want traditional learning methods because they're used to it. They've been doing it for 9 years, 9 or 10 years. They figured out their own personal kind of study regime, and they know if they do this, they're going to do well on the tests, and then they're going to do well. And there's nothing wrong with that. But so then you get a bit of resistance from that. The kids are actually like, we don't want to play a game. We want you to just give us the facts and move
But
on.
they've warned me that a war might break out in grade 9 over these points.
Is
So
it?
they're really into it from an engagement perspective. They are quite emotionally invested in these points that actually don't really translate to anything, I guess. But they're really into this whole game. So.
Have you got any questions for me? Any other questions? Somebody
I'm
might have.
interested in the points. Is it based on actual skill?
Yes.
And
What we do,
the output production as you would master assignment? Or
yeah, it's the simplest trick in the book. You mark it using a normal rubric and times it by 100. It's no, literally. You're like the first class we gave arts. I told them, guys, this class is coming out. It's 1,000 points. 1,000 points. I couldn't believe it. I said they don't even know that that's what that's relative to. It could be the smallest denomination in the game, but just the number is kind of, and that's what games do as well. If you play Subway Surfer, it's one. It doesn't count like slowly. On 10,000 points before you even know it. And that's how easy this kind of motivation works. So to answer your question, or you just mark it out of 25, out of 30, times it to get a total, and use those as our points. And kids end up with 15,000 points for things. Sounds wonderful. They love it.
That's nice.
Anything else, please? We'll take them our
Thank you very
appreciation.
much.
Wow.
Thanks, really.
Okay, so while he's unplugging, we'll have Darren in-plugging and then.
And Andrew has for your question.
Yes, that was a good question.
Great question.
We've got more, so we want you to ask questions.
There is also a t-shirt for the best tweet of the day. So those of you that are tweeting, keep on tweeting and make those tweets nice and creative. You can try to be the best tweet of the day, and if there's nothing better, then you might win. But there's some great minds in this room, so I don't think it'll work. But you can try. Thank you, Darren.
Alright, so let me actually start off by introducing myself. I'm Darren Yetung, I'm from Alpana House, and I'm the ICT integrator for the high school. I was asked to speak today against my will.
I bullied him into it.
Just a little bit. You don't see the bruises, but it's unusual. It's not because it's cold. Alright, so I thought about this, and I really wasn't sure what I was going to speak about, but then I just took it back to, because I'm involved with the teachers a lot, so I do training with teachers, integrating the technology, and I do work with kids as well. And I thought, well, why not use something that the teachers are using, and then maybe also present to you sort of the snacks that we came up with and how we actually address those. So I thought Google Classroom would be a great way of introducing this to you guys. So first of all, let me tell you why we went Google Classroom in most of our classes. Is because we wanted to go paperless, and we've got obviously Google Apps for Education, so we've got unlimited storage on Google Drive, and that just makes things a lot easier for us with kids uploading stuff. We don't have to ever worry about space. It's all there, easily accessible. And the kids have also got their own email addresses and all of that with Gmail, so it's easy to manage It allows us obviously to engage the students one-on-one or to the whole class through announcements or email or anything like that, so that's also quite cool. And it allows us to stay organized. I'm not really good with admin, I don't know about you guys, but that's something that really I don't enjoy about education is the admin part. This is great because obviously when you submit assignments and all that, it all gets put into your drive systematically, put into your class and whatever. So it's quite interesting. So this is the typical screen that you would find when you are submitting an assignment. Now this is from a student perspective. So from your device, you've got two ways of actually submitting assignments. You can either add or create. And I'm going to show you the differences between the two now. Right, so when we click create, you've got the option to create either docs, slides, sheets, or drawings. That's obviously on the device, how you create it. So you're not going to be uploading anything, you're going to create it on the device and it will switch to Google Slides or Docs, whichever platform you're using. And you'll find that the title of this assignment, which is my story, my selfie, was actually a presentation that I actually got my kids to create. You'll see that the title automatically moves down into the actual doc, right? And it also adds the student name, which is great. Okay, so I need to know when I go and do my marking, I've got all my files in Google Drive. I know whose this file is. I don't have to open up 26, I don't have to depend on different ones to find out who created what. Right, so this is a great way. This is normally how I encourage my kids to create their presentations and docs. So the other way is by adding, and that's either through Google Drive, they can find it, same way, they can find a slide that they've created, or whatever document it is, or upload it from their computer or device. And the only problem here is, I don't know if you guys can see the difference there. There's my title, there's no title there. Right, so it's because it's whatever the student saved it as. And generally, no matter how many times I encourage my kids to name a file structure a certain way, they always come back to this. Right, and I sit and I have to go through like 26, and I've got like 4 different classes for a grade, and it becomes a nightmare. And this is supposed to be something that makes it easier for us and not more difficult. So, this over here, for example, I don't care. Have you guys seen, using Google Classroom, if you go into your Google Drive, you will have a folder called Classroom. Now, we don't generally do anything with that folder. That's sort of like a backend for Google Classroom, and that's where when we create assignments and students submit, it creates a copy, right, onto our drive. So we can access it for marking. And I use, for example, Notability, where I import all my assignments, and then I can annotate and mark, and then I can email it back to my students. So that's fantastic. But the problem is, I'll show you, this is just another example. And this was using Scratch. It's actually a different programming for that. But you can actually see the titles here. I don't know who that is. Right? I have no idea who that document is kk.sd. No idea. It is GG. First animation. I have no idea who this is. I have to download these, got to open it in the appropriate program before I can actually see who created this. The other thing I don't know if you noticed is under owner, you'll see there's me and there's, for example, someone else, Aiden. Right? So another thing that the kids were doing is they would get to the part where it's submitting the assignment, they would put it up and it shows the assignment, cool, close the app, continue. Now it puts a copy in my drive, but they didn't click the turn in button, right? So the ownership doesn't change to me, so I can't edit it. So I can only view it. So I have to kind of click request access from them before I can actually do anything on the document. And, you know, this permission game is also, it can get kind of complicated. I don't know if you guys have noticed this, using this already. When I've got kids that want to submit, or when they do submit their assignments, and I say, hey, cool, I've made comments, go make changes. Then I just get a whole lot of emails saying requesting access. And I'm like, guys, you have to unsubmit the assignment before you can actually do that. Right. I sort of point this out to you as well. So in Google Drive, you'll see that this is the URL bar. You'll see that your folder has got a specific address, okay, just like a website, specific address. And this is kind of default. This highlighted part is unique. That's address, that specific folder that I'm in there. So that simple animation, that is the specific address related to that. So just keep that in the back of your mind. Right, so what we've done is we created, using Google Scripts, or Google Apps or Scripts, and we basically created a script, which I'll show you now, and we hosted it through our local server. We've got a Google server. And basically all we did was I will set it up to is by using that unique address, that folder, where all the students have submitted their assignments, and it's using an ad, right? So it's got different names. I don't know who those assignments are, and you saw what that looked like. And what I did was, well, basically, yeah, so we put that in over there, you submit, it runs the scripts, and you can see that regardless of who's got the permissions of the document, it actually renames it to the original owner. Right? So, I'll show you again from this point on, but you can see now I've actually got names of the assignments with the assignment name that they originally put in there. That makes it so much easier. So when I go marking now, and I sort, it's so much easier. All going to be together. So here's the final result. That same one that you saw before now on Google Drive, there's everything renamed. Okay, so that's a little bit easier for us. So we created a script, but the next phase would be to publish it on web store, on the Google web store, and we can make it available to you guys. So that's what we've done. If you have any questions, you can email me, tweet me, and we can take it from there.
I have a question.
Yep.
I'm full of them. Do you run it every single time? So every single folder. So every time you made the assignment, they submitted it, you open it because you want to do notability, you realize, oh shoot, it's not there, then you run the script.
Yes.
Every single time.
Yeah. So basically, that screen where we use Moodle, where you just paste that code in, you just paste that code in, run it, and then it renames.
And you said you run it off the Moodle server. Does that mean
You don't need to have a Moodle server. You can run it on anything.
you can run it off the platform once you've published it? Is it going to be expensive?
No.
For the teachers.
Education should be free.
Education should be free.
I have a question too. So you mentioned marking in Notability, and I know that there's probably a couple of us in this room that use different options for marking. And it's a question to you, but also to anybody else. Obviously, if you're just marking a straight doc, that kind of thing, it's pretty simple to use Google Docs and add your comments and that. But obviously, you're marking programming. Sometimes we're marking movies. Sometimes we're marking more complex things where it would make sense for you to use Notability. Is there any way that you found of getting it back to the learners other than via email? Because obviously that's what we want to move away from in terms of classroom. And then, yeah, if you can just kind of share, and maybe Darren first, and then anybody else who's kind of thought of better ways of marking things that aren't docs in classroom and then getting them back to learners, that'd be great.
Yeah, so like if I use, for example, Notability, when I imported everything from Google Drive, I just set my default folder to be on Google Drive as well. So once I've marked it, backs it all up back to Google Drive, and then I could just drag and drop it to whichever folders I want to. So I don't have to make use of each one.
So do you have shared folders with the learners then?
Yes.
So is it an individual folder per learner?
Yeah.
Okay, so you've done the
So
admin of creating those folders, and then they know that their stuff that's being returned to them goes into that folder.
What is Notability? It's a note-taking app. Effectively, no. You can find it on the App Store. Yeah.
There is also an option for paperless marking using within the Google apps using Doctopus and Rubric. I'll post a little guide on Google Plus as to how you can do that. It is limited because you have to have a kind of a rubric according to specific format, but it does allow you to give feedback to your learners by clicking on a different block within the rubric and giving them an individualized comment, and then the rubric actually appears at the bottom of their doc. But that again only really works for certain file types. So I think if we can continue the conversation, if anybody finds a better way of getting things back to learners, especially if they're dodgy files or different file types, then that would be not dodgy, apologies, the different file types, then that would be great, because it is a little bit of admin to kind of set up Google Drive folders for each of your learners, and that's the beauty of Classroom, is that it takes so much of the admin away. Also, Google Classroom has a little question mark in the bottom right-hand corner. Have any of you ever clicked on it? You should start, please.
Who uses Classroom? Let's start there. Who uses Classroom?
Actually, any of the Google apps. So most of the Google apps have got a little question mark in some way where you can actually send feedback directly to Google. So when you encounter these problems or challenges or walls or kind of things where you need to make a workaround, whilst not all of us are as clever as Darren and can write scripts and all of that kind of thing, what you can do is click on the question mark and send feedback directly to Google, because what happens is the Classroom developers look at that feedback. And if they see 25,000 people in South Africa all complaining about this thing, or even 25 for that matter, it's going to hopefully bump it up on their priority list in terms of the development going forward. So if you would like to see a feature, or if there's something that's missing or something that doesn't work, please take the 2 minutes to click the little question mark and give that feedback. Because ultimately we're all going to benefit because we're generally needing the same features within the app. So
We'll have loads of extra time.
yes.
Are you ready for me to spin this thing again? This is so much fun. It's like $3.99 on the App Store. Richard! You wait till next, just so you know. And after Alex, after Richard, it will be, just so we can get you ready. It's like a mental thing. Andrew. Okay, so are you guys ready? Richard, Andrew, after Alistair.
So one of the things that I love about Google Apps is that this room is full of educators, not IT guys. Sorry, Kevin, excusing you for the there, but not a bunch of all IT guys talking about stuff. That's really empowering for Google Apps. So very quickly, Google Apps education. It's not Gmail. It's not a consumer thing. It's an enterprise level system. It's running at 99.9%, and currently it's running at 99.98% of the time. That's 3 minutes in a month, potentially where it might be down. Around your school's digital domain, and behind that is this thing called the admin console, which allows you to do some really, really cool stuff. So my session is 5 minutes with some really geeky things, 5 cool things that you can do in the admin console. So I'm going to do that. Right, so first thing, of course, you can access the admin console directly from Gmail. If you are a super administrator or if you're an administrator, you click on the cog in the top right-hand corner, you get this little line that says manage this domain. If you're not an administrator, you won't have that. If you're involved in IT at your school and you're not an administrator yet, that's something that you should be angling towards. Another way that you can get hold of it is if you do the drop-down menu, the waffle at the top, the admin console comes up. You knew that already. It takes you to the admin console. It looks something like that. That's not the cool thing. But Google have given you several ways in which you can...
Can you talk slower,
can't have a question just yet. Sorry.
Please may you speak slower.
Speak slower. I've got 5 minutes and now I have 4 minutes.
We'll give you an extra minute to speak.
Right. So the admin console is sitting directly behind that. Google will give you several ways in which you could work with the admin console. One of those is in the iOS and the Android Play Store, they have an app called the admin app. And you can do some basic functionality like change users, add users, change password, look at groups, be able to do auditing on your accounts, and to also be able to do some basic reporting.
Just admin app, Google admin app.
Called the Google admin app. That means when you're caught in a passageway or out on the sports field and you need to reset a password, that annoying little thing that would normally require you having to go back to your computer, you can do it directly from your mobile phone. Okay, that was 2 minutes on number 1. Okay, I've got to, no, don't tell me to speed it up because I will talk faster. Talk slower, but move faster. Okay, right. The second thing that I would like to show you is that previously, if you wanted to install a program on somebody else's computer, you would have had to use a flash drive or potentially those big round things, what they call CD-ROMs, and be able to go and have to load the software on somebody's computer. Multiply that for the 10, 50, 20, 100 computers you have might have around your school. Google allow you to deploy apps directly from the Chrome Web Store right across your entire domain. I'm going to show you one very, very quickly. In this case, I'm going to deploy it across the entire domain. If I had 1,000 students, it doesn't make a difference. Device management. On device management, you have Chrome management. There's a whole Christmas bag of things underneath there. And it comes up. Oh yeah, how about that? I'll not tread some water.
Who is an admin here at your school? The admins. No, skip me a word or what's the one? All right, so you will find this valuable. If not, maybe you should try to become an admin.
Or you can appreciate your admin guys. Shout out to Kevin. Yes.
So while that's busy coming up, there are a whole lot of different admin roles. You have super administrator right at the top, you have user admin, you have group admin, but you have this really cool feature called help desk admin. And the only thing that help desk admin can do is to change passwords. Something like QPoint, where you have students, there's a students here at the school that help out other students. You could give those students the ability to be help desk admins. They can change passwords on other students' behalf. As you roll out devices, you're not going to be able to hire more staff, so if you could push some of those responsibilities down through your school structure, it's going to be very empowering. Pick up Kevin's car. How about that? There we go. So here we go. I'm going to deploy that from the Chrome Web Store. Device management, Chrome management, app management, And here I can search for any of the apps that are found in the Chrome Web Store. There are over 1 million apps at the moment. So let's click on that. I'm going to do a search. Anybody got a favorite app that they like?
Classify.
How much Gmails? Here we go. Gmails, no math, Gmail. Here we go. Yes.
Typing tutor.
Typing 2. I've already got Typing 2 to install. I'm going to go with Scratch, because that was already mentioned. So there we go, Scratch. Let's just say I want to use Scratch JS, which is one for juniors. Go to the user settings. I can go to my organization. I can do this my organizational groups, and I can force install it app and save it. Just like that, I've deployed an app from the Chrome Web Store to every single user within my school domain. Not only that, but if you're watching Google I/O this week, here comes point number 3. All Android apps are going to work on Chromebooks from June the 1st, natively. Okay, there's the announcement. They spoke about light sale, they spoke about explain anything. Any application that is in the Android Web Store will work in the Chrome OS. And just like I have deployed an app from the Chrome Web Store to your entire domain, you can manage and deploy apps in all Android store directly to your entire domain exactly the same way. That was point number 3. There was an example of one that was just been released. Google just released Science Journal. Yes.
Can you call an app that you deploy?
Yes, you can. You can uninstall it again. Yes, you can. There's one that Google released last week at Google I/O, a bunch, along with a whole bunch of other tools that released is Google Science Journey. We mentioned the different admin roles, and that's 5 so far, because I mentioned an extra one, but I'm going to mention one more. Because it is your domain and you own it, you can actually do restricted delivery on your students. That means if you didn't want your students to send email outside of your school's domain, you can do that directly from the Google admin interface. It's found on the apps, Google Apps, Gmail. Select the OU group that you want under your settings, of course. There we go. And there are a whole bunch of settings. One of those settings is called restricted delivery. There we go, there's restricted delivery. And by using that setting, you can make sure that your students are only allowed to send email within your school domain. You're not allowed to send email in and out of your school domain. So a great way in which you can create a ring-fenced environment for your students to interact. Thanks for my stories.
Thank you.
No, you don't know.
Yes, question.
Google now, and they say you only want to install the Scratch things for your IT learners, but you have like some things like that you choose them that only install it for your grade 10 IT learners instead of for the whole school.
Right, so you've got 3 basic, what we call the trifecta. You've got users, you've got groups, and you've got organizational units. You deploy apps by organizational units. So as long as your structure is there, yes, you can. Does that make sense? Oh, you get an onion for that.
For a good question, of course.
Yes.
Do you get training on the admin console?
No. Of course we do.
Any other questions?
When we were speaking about the super user and user and the help desk, is the only role that you can sign to the help desk person changing passwords?
So you've got several default roles. There are 5 of them. You can create obviously your own custom ones, but under those default roles of the help desk, all they can do is change passwords.
Okay, so you can create a custom one.
And remembering that everything is auditable. So you can see whether somebody changed the password, who changed the password, what time. You can put notifications along with it.
Great, thank you so much, Alistair. And welcome to Richard. Who's that?
Oh, that's me.
Romantisch.
And that's not out.
Kijk hoe mooi. Je is je hele leven voor YouTube.
But he just needs to play. Oh, you know? Can't you just back me up? I shall switch this off. I don't know, we just bump them off, hey? Like the next person just mirrors.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Okay, while we wait,
Yeah.
Andrew wants. Do you want Andrew to go so long while you sort out your technical difficulties? You've got a MacBook, eh?
Yeah, I think let's go Andrew first.
Just switch and then. Did you?
Thank you.
Lindsay, thank you for the background.
Ah, one way over there.
Right, I'm Andrew. I teach at Cedar House. I will try not to talk as fast as Alistair. So I teach junior stage, senior stage, which are a little bit of foreign concept. It's at Cedar House in the southern suburbs, in independent school. That is the main building. It's an old house, and we have 3 campuses in old houses, so it really is very informal. Those are the children, what they normally wear. They wear civvies every day. We have grade 11s and 12s with beards and have multiple piercings and purple and blue hair, and boys with hair down to here. So very free. Our entire set of rules for the school is about a half-page pledge of respect for the teachers and respect from the teachers and the providing of a good education. So it's very much an informal environment. I'm Andrew, the headmaster is Frank, and that's to every child from grade 4 right up to matric. So a different environment in which to teach. So I'm talking about my integrated studies course, which is in the senior stage. And when I cold sent my CV to the headmaster, he met with me on Tuesday, and on Thursday offered me the job, and he said, we're presenting our courses for next year tomorrow. Can you put together a brief for a module that you'd like to teach by tomorrow? So I was like, okay, cool, scratch with something go with something I know about. Anyway, so let me just explain how the module system works. So they have core subjects in senior stage, grades 8 and 9 taught together at the same time. So the senior stage children have core subjects, English, upper advanced maths, and then they have time in which they choose to do whatever they choose. So this is our choice. And then they do it for 6 months, and then they leave it, and they go and do something else. So they get to sort of experience a whole bunch of different things. There is no homework in senior stage. So right up until grade 10, we don't get homework, which is also a very different thing, and something that I'm getting used to after having been at Parklands College, where my grade 5 parents complained a lot. So integrated studies, yes, I got to choose, I chose to do human evolution as my topic, nice and controversial, not for the goal of changing anyone's mind, but just for the goal of sort of putting it out there and getting children to think and examine these critically. Cedar House introduced Google Classroom this year, and they became a Google school from the start of this year, so I had to go through teaching the teachers how to use Google Classroom and all the kids learning how to use Google Classroom as well. Anyway, so I'm just going to go through some of the things I did in my integrated studies class, which used Google Apps. So we started off by just doing using Google Drawings to just get sort of an idea of what are the some of the mechanisms of evolution. So I simply divided and got different learners in my class to do the different things, and we just all worked on the same sheet. So because it's shared between all of us, they can all edit on the same sheet, and then they all have the shared information. So it's like dividing, but at the same time, they all have access to the information after, which is great. So you don't have to worry about sort of them copying and sharing and all of those sorts of things. And because it's digital and I've got access, I can edit as we go, and I can make comments. So by the time they put it all together, I'm happy that it's actually correct. And I don't have to sort of go home and do that. I can do it while they're doing it in class. Slight detour, it was Telegrami that I used for this. So once they put together the mechanisms of evolution, we just then created the Telegrami video using the free one, 30 seconds only, but we did it. So they just broke down the 3 different types of natural selection. And they put in a video which we then put on YouTube, and they were quite chuffed that they'd now made a video. And then once we've done the video together, then in smaller groups they went off to go and explain various things in a little bit more detail. I'm not going to play this. It's a survival of the fittest with carrots that run away from the bunnies, and the bunnies with long legs can catch the carrots. a little bit odd, but I guess that's the school that it's in. But the concept of survival of the fittest came across quite nicely.
So
Right, yes. No, shoot.
What did you record the video on?
They used iMovie, yeah. Yeah, but I mean, I didn't specify because although it's an Apple school, we haven't, I mean, a lot of the children are using all sorts of different devices and it's a little bit free in terms of that. So that's why Google Apps is nice because they can use it from any device. So then once they've done this group video task, I gave them a mark based on what the final product was, but then I need to assess how they work together and that sort of thing. So I got them to sit together and on their own and assess their peers on how they contributed to the project. And then I incorporated it to the mark. So it was confidential, so I asked them to be honest, and they handled it quite maturely. So it was also nice, and pretty much my view of what the contributions of people were was fairly accurate based on what their feedback was. And then one of the other things I used Google Forms was, we covered a certain section of work. I wanted to check whether they actually understood that section of work. So I just had a quick Google form, and in that Google form I could insert videos and all sorts of things, and then ask them for examples. So I got sort of quite quick feedback from them. And then I can see, yes, they've understood this. No, we need to spend a little bit more time on it. So those were the two things I used Google Forms for. Then we went on to writing the essay. So they chose a topic that related to evolution, something that they liked. So that is related to elephants, the evolution of bipedalism. This one was the evolution of, this was bipedalism. Somebody did the evolution of whales. So they chose their topic, and because they got to choose their topic, they were quite engaged. But in grade 8 and 9, when it comes to writing an essay, yes, they've done creative essays, but when it comes to doing a sort of more researchy essay, where they've got to cite sources and all of those things, they're not quite as good. So you get things like, scientists say. What scientists say? And I could use comments, like as they went, to sort of suggest, well, you've said scientists, but can you give me the name of the lead scientist who did this? Because that gives you a lot more credibility. And then, sort of maybe over here, you should mention where this was discovered, or she's inserted a picture in her essay, but perhaps if she had a picture for comparison, that would be nice. And then as we went, it was an ongoing process. So it was sort of every week or between lessons, I would then make the comments, and then when they came to the next lesson, they would look through my comments and my suggestions, and either dismiss them or accept them. So this comments feature, which Darren mentioned on the side, the comments, but you can also use suggested edits. So if I felt that maybe they could have said something in a slightly different way that would have improved the flow of it, I can suggest it like this. So my writing comes up in a different color, and the things I suggested, they cross out. And then they can either accept that if they agree with it, or dismiss it. So with a simple click of the button, they can choose to either accept my edit or dismiss it. I also used this little Chrome extension there, which is cite the source for me. So that was quite neat because it also showed them how to correctly cite things for their bibliography, which they kept at the end. And the other thing that I was very big on was plagiarism and not allowing it. So in that course of going through their work weekly, if they gave me something that I could clearly see was plagiarized, I went to Google, found it, and said, you got this from this website, and it's far too close. And so they could see that I could pick up immediately where it was from, and actually the end results were pretty good. So my next activity was to examine how difficult it was for scientists to put together the evolutionary tree of our common ancestors through to modern Homo sapiens. So I used Orasma and Google Drawings to do that. So first of all, on the 3 campuses, I put, who knows Orasma? Okay, we need a quick breakdown. Who knows QR codes, those little black and white blocks on the magazines? Okay, so what Orasma does is it lets you make a QR code that can be any picture. So you set the picture and you set what it brings up. So either it brings up a movie, or you can set it to bring up a web page, whatever you choose to bring up. So I set those, and then on the 3 campuses, I put those pictures up around, and I said to the children, go off, and by next week's lesson, I want you to come back having scanned all of them. But I didn't tell them how many there were. It sort of was to simulate how for scientists, they don't know how many fossils there are out there. So they're always working with, I don't know how many there are. So they kept asking me how many. I was like, just go and find them. And they came back with what they achieved the next week. I've just got some pictures of the children scanning. So you can see the pictures on the wall. She's holding her phone out, and it brings up an information sheet. So in fact, thanks to Jedra, it's a cool thing, publishing your web page. Yes, publish some web pages. And it brought up some information about the hominids. So Australopithecus africanus, and it brought up the years it came from, and it brought up its name and a little bit more detail about it. So I had the children scan those things. Once they've done that, I got them to come back into class, and then they need to try to construct the hominid family tree. So this is in Google Drawings. We put the picture in, and then we added the name underneath and grouped them. And what's really nice is when you join them with these lines, if you then move things around, the lines move with the things that you've got. So you can sort of put together quite a nice family tree, and you've got the room to adjust things. Am I doing good time? There'll be 2 more minutes. Okay. All right, so that was really nice. And what they learned from that was that it's really difficult to put it together because none of them got it perfect. In fact, no one's got it perfect, even the scientists are doing it. So this was something I got from Glenn. Using Google Maps to track the out of Africa theory. So the theory that humankind developed in Africa and spread to the world. So we put the things on the map. The next steps of Paranthropus species, moving to Australopithecines, moving to the Homo series. So you can see, instead of me telling this is the out of Africa theory, and we started in Africa and then we moved out, we could do it the other way around. So we could put all the coordinates in, which they can do. We'll go into that another time. And then with each one of those, if we share it with them, we can now input pictures. So not only do they have the map, but they can also bring up what was the fossil that we're basing this thing on in this particular place. Right? And there's a little bit of creative license. I haven't got around to interviewing Ian Tattersall yet, so that's simply a screenshot of his picture on top. But I would like to, if I get the chance, to do that with him. Right? And I don't have time to go into my end of term assessment. But are there any questions?
Sure. That's a really good
Yeah.
point. Have you used RSMA? Have you opportunities to try to build them?
I have had experience with Blipper, but I haven't used it this year now.
It's really awesome because RSMA just gives you the one thing. Blipper, you can embed so much stuff. It's like that, almost like virtual reality.
It is
You can
cool.
get videos and worksheets and you can tweet all of those things.
I think it's very Wi-Fi dependent. So depending on what your school is running. Yeah, but what I mean is, it's really dependent. We started Erasmus last year at the beginning when we didn't have fiber yet. It was a nightmare. We did a whole thing about Picasso and everything. It was just fire. Luckily, it was ready.
I have a question.
Yes.
If you could only have, heaven forbid, one Google app for the rest of your life, what would it be? You have to choose one, because I know you make use of the plethora, but if you had to choose one, what would it be and why?
Fifth Amendment?
No, choose one.
Now I'm busy trying to frantically figure out what's the one I use the most for the most versatile thing.
You can think about it and tell us just now.
Okay.
Choose forms, because you get sheets as well. Richard's next. And then we need to start keeping it a little bit short. Otherwise, we're going to keep you until 7. We are happy with that. After 6, we serve wine.
I go down to the bottom of the
We're happy with that.
This is my friend Andrea, who likes to try and get fun. Here's my desktop.
No, we also, Andrew, at Alcon as well. I mean, we're Apple and a Google school, so everything works vice versa. So whatever at that stage works the best that day, you kind of use. But I know for schools that's now using Chromebooks as well, that's been the biggest issue, is videoing, and also things like Explain Everything or taking video screencasts or any of those, because your Chromebook just opens up like a laptop. But did you see the new ones that actually flip open completely, 360? Kevin had one year earlier. So it opens up a complete new world at a fraction of the price. So.
Hello everyone, I'm Richard Pence. I'm from Stellenbosch University. We have recently been given a task. Okay, so Lindsay came to see us for this semester, and we've had a medicine for the last year. We started with iPads, and then we sort of grew into them this year a bit more. So we got given the task to look at CAPS and develop a project-based learning anything really. The rules were we had to use 3 subjects, and we had to choose a specific grade and a specific term within CAPS. Okay, so those were our parameters. And then obviously because it was project-based learning, we had these 5 sort of things to keep to, right? So in doing that, I started to look around at project-based learning and research and stuff, and I came across a very well-known quote. Yeah, so Einstein, very clever man, and what he says here inspired me to create my project. Okay, so I came up with hashtag ESUF, so explain simply, understand fully. Okay, and part of our project is we had to create a leading question, and then that leading question was given to your learners. Obviously, this is all hypothetical because we're still students. Hopefully we'll be able to put these into classrooms at one stage, but this is all just sort of theory. So my leading question was using technology as a platform of collaboration. How can you explain a given topic in its simplest form so that anyone can begin to understand its complexities? It's a very complicated leading question, but obviously it's just to get them to explain something simple. If they do that, then I know that they understand it. So my final outcome here, before I get there, my 3 subjects were English, science, and life orientation. So my final outcome at the end of the term would be that the learners create in their groups, they must create a video, and that video we placed onto YouTube to be part of a blog series, or vlog series. And those videos will form part of a sort of a virtual textbook that they then can study from for the exam. So, yeah, so then going into it, so like I said, my 3 subjects. So I started with my core, which was English and natural science. Second year is life orientation because I felt that a lot of sports they're having CAPS documents linked in quite well. And then I thought that if you expand my thinking, you can go into those 3, so social science, because I feel there's lots that you can put into this project. Okay. So before starting, I looked at Bloom's taxonomy and how we can place each app that I was looking at into this section. Okay. So certain apps will help with learners creating things, whereas certain apps will help people or learners apply and understand that kind of stuff. And this is where Google Apps comes in so nicely, is that the Google Apps for Education was our base. Okay? It was our starting point, and then from there they could use other apps that they can help illuminate the project. So we use Google Classroom to talk to learners and to share content, and we use Google Drive as our sort of hub for all information shared. And when we handed in our work, we had to hand in a Google Drive folder that was structured as if we were handing it to a class. Yeah. And then I felt that other apps can all link into what we're doing. So from the Google Apps, these then will all grow from it. Okay, because they're all, there is problems with a lot of them talking with one another, but a lot of them can be shared now.
Richard, we only have 2 minutes. Sorry.
Okay, so moving on to how, so for each application, we worked into, I thought about doing app maps through Theory. So basically, I took a screenshot of an app, and as they hovered over the app, it showed them how to use the app. So it's
very cool.
That's very cool.
So because everything is done, sort of, I'm handing all the content to you through Google Drive. And they don't quite know how to do it. This is a way that they can maybe go home, and if they don't know how to do it, they can still figure it out. So obviously throughout the whole term there's lots of activities, but there's 5 activities that I was going to speak about. But this will, I thought it would be about the first 2 weeks of class. First activity was a way for them to expand on the project itself without me telling them anything, right? So I never, or I wouldn't give them anything. I would just literally give them a sheet of paper with 4 QR codes and tell them which app to use, and they must then go and explore the content. The first one sends them to the class YouTube channel. The second one sends them to the class Drive folder, and within that Drive folder, it sends them to their specific topic. So if I had 10 groups in the class, there'd be 10 different pages printed with that one, so there'd be 10 of that corner that's different. And that topic will be what they are doing for the term, right? So my subject was science specifically. In term 3 was electricity. I had 10 subjects or 10 topics within electricity, and for each group I did one. In a good classroom, and then the last one is a challenge task that they can do as individuals. Do I have time to?
It's like 30 seconds.
Okay, I'll just do this one as well.
Yeah,
so, leading from that, before we get into understanding the content, I wanted them to understand the implications of having something on the internet. So if they want to put a blog on the internet, or if they want to tweet, or if they want to do, they need to understand what they're putting out. By creating a profile, it can be seen by the rest of the world, right? So I used a random name generator thing, where they got given a popular name and a popular surname, and then they had to put it together, taken randomly, and they had to go stalk that person on Facebook. And they had to tell me, if they can, all these things about that person. Some of them, if their privacy is up, you will hardly get any of this information. But a lot of people who don't understand privacy, you'll get this and so much more, right? So they need to share this with me, and then the whole point of it was then we're going to reflect on how much you can gain from someone's profile without even being their friend. Okay, so yeah, and then we're on to making vines and to Google Forms, Google and YouTube and stuff. But just to wrap it up, we try to keep it as much as possible in Google Apps for Education with the added input of it. Any questions?
What we will do in order to make this a little bit shorter, Lindsay and I just chatted, we will ask all our presenters today to share their presentations. We will put a link out to it, and make sure your contact details on your presentation. You can share it for you only, and then you can watch those and go through it and contact the person should you have any more questions. All right.
Specific questions? Yes. Yeah. Do you want, yeah, Helena now.
Hi everyone, my name is Candice and this is my English group. We are also from Stellenbosch. As Richard said, we were given this project to do for this year, and Lindsay came to us and she told us about what they're doing here at Parklands, and she showed us an example of their work, and then suddenly she was like, here you go, now you're going to do it. And we were like, what just happened? So none of us really had a lot of experience working with the iPads or anything remotely like this. So it was all very new to us. Richard decided to work by himself. He's just genius like that. The rest of us needed a little bit of moral support. So yeah, as we said, we had to pick a key question for a term, select 3 subjects and see how they all linked and design the whole thing. In Google Classroom, we had to make 5 activities, so we had to do the teachers' presentations, inputs, all of that, as well as the learners' side of things. So we had to kind of look at it from both angles to think what the learners would be able to do. So our key question was, why do some people lose their humanity in great times of stress? And our subjects, we had to do English and history, and then we did arts and culture because it's a subject that's kind of pushed like under the rug a little bit in school. It's not math. So we decided to do that to incorporate both visual arts as well as the drama component. And yeah, we linked it with our key question. We looked at things like Nazi Germany. Our book that we selected for English was, what was it again? Lord of the Flies. Sorry, it's exam time for us. Other things. Was Lord of the Flies. And then our overall thing that we wanted to do for this project was using these different subjects and the content and all these activities was to get them to design their own scripts and whatever, and to put on an entire drama production at the end of the term. So they would have to have designed the sets, the propaganda posters, all the extra stuff that went with it, but as well, for us, our activities focused on specific things. We looked at script writing, we looked at them presenting an interview, so they looked at drama components like facial expressions. We brought in different characters from the book as well as historical figures in the interviews. So what would a Nazi officer's outfit look like? What would their accent be? What would their views and opinions be? And they would have to incorporate the drama components, so just like the body language, how would they sit, how would they look, so that when they actually do present their production at the end, it would not just be like, I don't know what I'm doing. So yeah, we also, for one of them, we also looked at, we wanted them to design a trailer. That was one of the biggest sections of the project that we did. So we got them to first look at other movie trailers and see things, and then analyze trailers so they could see different components like why they use certain music, lighting, the different camera angles, and then design their own one at the end, which would be used to introduce the drama production that they actually put on, as well as be put up on the school's websites or things like that, just to create, you know, more people's interest.
So why we chose the drama production was because when we were at school, teacher chose it and we went, okay, we're going to do this production. But now the kids have input, they write the script, they design a drama, the parents come and see what the children actually have created, and we would have the kids chose the best script, and it can be collaborated. This is grade 9, but it can be collaborated for all the grades. One grade can do one section of the play, and yeah, so this is an amazing platform, and we think this is the future of education. So we're very, very excited about it. Thank you for having us.
Also, the apps gave learners a lot of choice. So we used things like Socrative and clickers so that they could vote for certain things, topics they wanted to do, certain things like which was the best film analysis, which was the best trailer. So they had a say in what was done. It wasn't just the teacher going, right, you're going to do that, and that's that, sorry. So it did allow for a lot more interaction with the learners and their work. And Classroom really, really helped because as Darian showed us, you can upload things and you can link it, or they can create it or just add it. So one of us pretended to be a student and tried to see if they could actually do our activities. So it really did teach us a lot. But yeah, thank you.
Awesome.
I think that you mentioned that's why I asked.
There's a
Travis
question
as well.
right after it.
That's why I asked Travis as well. We've realized students take ownership the moment that it's their project. So it's content creation instead of consumption. The moment they create it, it's their ownership, they use it, so they're going to take some. Yes.
I don't have a question.
I think so.
It's Anel, then Fiona, then you. Anel's not very nervous, but I will do the talk while she comes up. Being only 3 foundation phase people here, we always feel kind of outshined. Is that a word? Outshone. It's after 5, now my Afrikaans kicks in. For all the high school people, but for us, it's integral. The kids start in foundation phase, which means we are the people who teach them how to share. What is digital citizenship? In Google Classroom, how to comment on certain things and how do you not comment. So we actually had quite a goal. Also, we start at our school, we start in grade 1 already with GEG. And what is nice for us is we never have anything that we say they're too young. We don't believe in that. So all our young learners in our grade R's from this year, they actually start using Go. They each have their own account and they create. So our teachers, we have a team of 4 amazing teachers. They put out project-based learning tasks that run for anything between 8 and 11 a week. And then I also going to share one of those tasks that they actually did with them.
So I'm not nervous at all, just fine completely. I don't generally talk to adults, I speak to kids, so it's extremely daunting standing in front of all of you. But I'm just going to tell you very briefly about our grade 3 collaborative task. So we've taken a big step, and I think all schools are going in that direction, to really push towards more collaboration, more group work, and not as many individual tasks. This was a small group activity where it was 2 kids working together, and they created a dialogue which ended up going into Google Drawings. So it is nowhere close to as intricate as the one we saw. So don't expect all the graphs, they're only 9 years old. Okay. So these are our focus areas. Obviously being foundation phase, we have to be very aware of getting critical skills because I think that's probably sorely lacking right through the foundation phase. And maybe even the high school teacher will see the same thing, that thinking out the box is a little bit stunted in some areas. So we focused on collaboration, obviously is a big thing. At the bottom, independent learning, that really was a big drive for us as well, getting them to take ownership of what they were doing. And then solving their own problems. So if they came to something they didn't know how to do because we used the iPad as well as obviously computers, they had to kind of search their way through it and figure out how to actually achieve the task. Okay, so our topic was friendship, obviously very fitting for grade 3s. So what they started with was obviously first kind of split themselves into teams of 2, and that was left up to them to decide who they went with. And then they had to plan what their dialogue would be. So they had to, not huge content, 3 sentences they had to do each. And they had to now decide how they were going to do this, who was going to say what. So that was a verbal discussion. After that, we went through to using the iPads, where they then used, and I don't know what this is called, so someone who's very smart can tell me, but pretty much the little microphone keyboard. Okay, the dictation key. So they used the microphone and spoke, which to them was astounding. So we gave them 5 minutes just to talk, and it was complete nonsense because it was absolutely awesome seeing that actually come onto the screen. And then they deleted that and actually did the actual task of recording their sentences in essence. So that was the first part of that. Once they had done that, obviously it was done in Google Docs because we are Google school. So we did in Google Docs, and they automatically saved to their drive, so there's no worry about recording that thing. Okay, then the fun bit for any kid is taking a selfie, obviously. So they then had to take 3 expressive photographs of themselves, which would then be used in their dialogue box. Again, completely independent, had to figure out how we do that thing. Most of them knew how to flip the camera, of course, because selfies are a big thing. So they kind of took 3 photos of themselves, and from there, they had to then upload that to Drive, which we had done previously, so it's knowledge they had. But we didn't say to them, okay, step 1, step 2, step 3, just kind of all figure out how to do this now. You've done it before, follow the steps. Here. So, we give them that responsibility and give them the freedom to make the steps they use into Drive. So that was the next step, which is uploading it onto their drives. Okay, then the following week we went into the IT center where they then worked on the computers. They then took the 3 sentences they had recorded, and we had given them the templates with the speech bubbles only in the columns. The rows, columns, and speech bubbles were all given to them, the rest they had to all insert by themselves. So they had to copy their sentence, insert it into the dialogue box, and then again insert those 3 photos that they had taken, and they then did that all the way through. Now, in all of these skills, obviously collaboration happened beforehand, and now it was kind of more independent thinking, problem solving, and also just actually having fun, just going for it and seeing what comes of it. And they actually did a great job.
And the digital skills. Stay on your side. He's in my block. We have a lot of that.
Sorry, I forgot to mention that. So before we even got to this part, they went to the IT center, and we then said to them, okay, now one of you needs to put your hand up, and we will share this document with you, which we then did. They had to then go and share the document with their partner, because they need to work on the same document, which was actually quite an interesting discussion anyway. So they then decided who was the one who received the document, and they then shared it with their friend.
Again, we do this quite frequently actually where we share documents and they work in the IT lab at the same time on the same document. So that is nothing new to them, but it is something they actually really do enjoy, seeing your picture go in, seeing you change your font. And you'll see at the end with these boys, the feedback from this little boy was, oh, you copied all my things, the colors and everything. So I said, yes, but you obviously thought it looked really good. You know, so it's also a learning experience for them. Okay, so that was our final project. At the end, that's what it looked like. They inserted all their things, and once they were finished, we said to them, go and enjoy yourself in color and borders and formats and all of that. And they actually ended up with a brilliant project, which really was done, I would say 98% independently, but obviously if you need to help with questions. But for 9-year-olds, I think they really did a really, really great job. And then again, obviously, all using our Google tools. So, yeah. That's pretty much it from my side.
Any questions?
Any questions?
I'm just saying, if my 9-year-old can do that, what are your kids here? They're just putting it out there. I think, what did you say, Lindsay? We're going to go? Lee? My spinning is taking too long, and then I show you my holiday pictures and everything, so we're trying to move this along. So Lee, and then Fiona, can we do Gail, and then we end with you?
I'm very excited about you. Sure, I got to know.
She works here. She knows the thing.
Okay, so I'm not going to talk you through anything that we've done. I just want to demonstrate to you how we use Google Apps for collaboration between teachers and learners. So in quarter 1, we did an awesome kick-ass project, which if you want to know more, you can ask us. But it involved cross-curricular.
And we will keep you here till it's definitely time for one.
Flipped classroom, we had loads of worksheets, loads of different activities that the kids had to do. So we had to think of a really good way for them to be organized. So we asked lots of questions like, how can we teach these kids with all this information being thrown at them to be super, super organized? Because that's really a problem. Kids just save things anywhere and everywhere. They can't find it again. I lost it. So they have to be very organized. And then we have to thought how they're going to complete the work because they're working in groups, so how they're going to collaborate. And then how am I going to, as a teacher, give them feedback on all the work that they're doing? So we used Google Drive for this. So the first thing that we did when we divided them into groups is we told them they had to go onto their Google Drive and they needed to make a folder which had a specific name. And we showed them the structure that folder had to have. So our project is divided into 3 modules. So you'll see Ivana and her group, module 1, module 2, module 3, and then their final presentation. So when you go into it, module 1 would have worksheets, individual assessments, and group assessments. So we're trying to teach them how to be organized by using Google Drive. Then they had to share with each other, because of course everybody had to have access to it. So then they made sure they shared it with everybody in their group, and then most importantly, they shared it with the 3 teachers that were worked on it. So now we have access to everything. Now we wanted to keep them super, super organized because we threw so much work at them. So the first thing we did is we made them, well, we put their timetable into a Google Excel spreadsheet. Google Sheet, thank you. And they had to work their weeks out and they had to collaborate together. So you can see this child, they've put in which lesson they're doing what, and then they've actually crossed it off and they've done it. They know they've got down at the bottom, you can't see it, but they've listed what their homework was, so everybody in the group knows what they have to do when they're doing things. So now we have kids who've organized themselves with Google Drive, they've organized themselves with everything, and now they've actually got to get to their work. So we did all of our work via Google Docs. So we have them doing worksheets and activities, which we based in either the spreadsheet slides or through the Word version in Google. Now, I needed to be able to see what work they were doing, which is the most important part because we're letting them run free. They're working at their own pace when they want to do things. So I need to make sure that everything is correct. So you saw that they shared with me earlier. So this is kind of what my drive looked like. So if you see up at the top, it just says Pastor Hanem, girls Pastor Hanem. It should say module 1, but so basically they shared everything with me. So that's what mine looked like. So at all times, I had access to their work. So at any time of the day, I can just go in and see, oh look, District 12B is working on this at the moment. This is where they're at. They haven't done that. So it was great because I could go home, lucky enough to have Wi-Fi, and just sit and sift through the work and see where everybody's at. And then because they're answering on Google Docs, they're collaborating together, I have a luxury that is sitting at home at 9 o'clock at night while they're doing their work, if they are, or I'm just chilling out from the TV, and I can actually leave them comments and feedback for the next day. So they haven't quite done so well on that work. As Morris sat, I can see Ms. Morris working at 10 o'clock at night and leaving them a comment while they're super chuffed that I was looking at it at 10 o'clock at night. And I found I was doing both really. I didn't just want to put comments that said how bad they were and how it was wrong. So you'll see this one is specifically lots of good, add this in. So trying to give them lots and lots of positive feedback. So it worked really, really well for us because we could just keep track of this insane project going on of what kids were doing. We had access to all of their folders. They knew that we did. We could see all of their work. And then just throwing it here at the end. We use Google Classroom mostly for communication. So a lot of people deliver their work through it. We just use it for communication. So we needed to send a message out to them or an assignment or something like that. And then this whole theme of collaboration, we really pushed them to get, this is me putting it out, but we also had them adding some feedback, sending something out to the class as well, and a bunch of kids so they can start collaborating together. That's how you can use Google Drive for collaboration. Awesome. Questions?
No one. Are the questions fading? I still have lanyards. Why does nobody want to ask questions? Andrew, thank you.
Quick question. Were they collaborating on the same documents at times?
Yes.
And did you, it's quite time consuming to sit there and look at who did what in the documents.
No, so they have group roles, and they're the same type of thing that I think you did as well, where we have feedback on a regular basis of who's working and doing what in each group. And because I wasn't teaching at all during the lesson time, I had the luxury, then my role as facilitator is actually you're keeping an eye on the group, so you know that Andrew's not doing his work, so you can actually kind of spot it. Because you've now got the luxury of just spending your time watching them. You're not standing up in front of them. We selected groups. They became teenagers, the choice to make groups. That takes like 3 hours.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah, Chromebook. No. Sorry.
Somebody tweeted earlier, just while we saying, a comment about doesn't giving comments in Google Docs take quite a long time. And I just replied to Miss Butterfly. Miss Butterfly is Miss Butterfly. Miss Butterfly gone. Miss Butterfly on Twitter. She flew away. Oh man. Oh, maybe she's watching the live stream. Oh, that's awesome.
I have an excuse. I'm not.
So, but she said doesn't it take quite a lot of time? And two things that I shared with her that I think I'd like to share with you just as encouragement while we set up. The first thing is that I find that typing generally is a whole lot quicker than writing. Also, often when you give a class an assignment, they make common errors, or you're giving common feedback. So what I find useful is to actually have a doc where I'm working on my general kind of comments, and then what you can do is just copy and paste it and tailor it to that particular situation. So it also saves you quite a lot of time, but it's still for that child personalized feedback. And the same with giving comments if you're marking through Dr. Priscilla Rubric also, that you can have your kind of template for comments, and then you can put their name in and you can put a specific comment in, and it really means that you can give comprehensive comments with less effort than actually having to write them out. So thank you, Deb.
Obviously, as you can see, I'm talking about Google Classroom again. So look at me, I'm Gail Rosiris, my two wonderful colleagues over there from Campus Bay High School. And we started embarking on going, becoming a gay school, sort of-ish, long story, at last year. And I'm a CAT teacher, so I'm lucky I've got all the facilities in my classroom, because we haven't really rolled out Google Classroom. It has been a bit of a challenge. So I decided at the beginning of this year, okay, I can't wait for those people up there to tell me what to do. So we'll start with these people down there, which is me and my students, and we're going to push Google Classroom up the school instead of bringing it down the school. So I'm lucky that I teach 15 different classes. So lucky in the sense that I can actually touch about more than just over half of our school, Google Classroom. So just to put it in a nutshell, is Google Classroom has saved my sanity. It has saved me so much time. It's allowed me to keep on track with what I'm doing in my classes, and it has definitely added a whole different personal dimension to teaching my students, where so often it is thought that technology takes you away from the personal contact, but it's allowed me to have more. So I use it really to, I use it on a daily basis with my students to just keep check of what we're doing. They don't, like a cat, they are practical, but I'm going to take you from the aspect of my theory side of it, where I can actually ask them in the evenings to go look at a video or prepare something that we're going to talk about the next day so they know about it. Or we will have our little discussion and then they'll go off and consolidate their work. Now, the emphasis of this talk, because you've seen a lot on Google Classroom this afternoon, is that I am big on games. Okay, so I was very pleased with that first, whoever kind of did the first thing with gamification. And I thought, now how can I encourage my kids to want to work? Because generally you don't want to work. Nobody really wants to do any work there, especially kids behind. They want to go surfing. Okay, so how can I make them want to? And now on Google Classroom, for all your assignments, you have points or marks. If you create an assignment, it has a mark allocated to it. So I thought, okay, we can't use this as formal assessment, but I can use it as gaming points. So instead of having something out of 100, I have something out of 1,000, out of 750, whatever mood I'm in when I set the thing up. I just plunk a whole lot of points on it. And I use Classroom with the work guide, not for formal assessment, I said, but for attitude points. So we have something called CAT points. I always tell them when they say, is it for marks? I said, I'm not interested in marks, I'm interested in your attitude. So now you're going to be working on your attitude points, and we're going to see who's going to be the leader in attitude points. So this has allowed me the opportunity to actually show my students, or encourage my students that aren't necessarily the academic strong ones, but the ones that actually are more involved and trying to work hard or want to work hard. And I'm hoping that indirectly by the end of the year, we'll see this will have a direct reflection on their formal assessments. So what I do is, okay, we all know Classroom, there are various different things I do. There's a little quiz I did today for their revision. I allow them, give them access to past papers. I do little assignments, little worksheets. I can see who's done and who hasn't done, and that is the attitude. So I don't even look at this and think, oh, when do you have time to mark all this? No, for goodness sake, I don't have time to mark all these other things. But I do have time to go through and quickly give it a cursory glance. Have they completed the worksheets like you would for homework? I'm not going to read through them. I do spot check, so they don't think I'm just cursory glancing through it. So anyway, then at the end of my word, there's so much more. At the end of the week, I just put this up here. I will use Google Sheets and I extract all those points into a spreadsheet and I publicize it because there's nothing that is derogatory. It's nothing about your ability. It's about the attitude and are they actually doing the work. So here is an example, and where's my scroll bar? Oh, the one means that they've handed it in, but they've handed the wrong thing in. So I know they've gone to the effort of handing something in, but it's not what I want. There we go. So, come on, it's working. Okay, so there are a whole lot of things. It tells you what it is. They see this, they see what they got, and there's a total. And generally, they get excited about it. They come up, they want to see where they're at. And just to quickly end it off, the thing that we all teachers, we never get any kind of feeling that the pennies hit home. This is just an example of an email that I got from a student of mine that said, good evening, Miss, we've diagnosed with months, and I'm not going to be at school for 10 days. I'm worried that I'm going to fall behind in work. Never heard that in my life before. And if I do, Bjorn is going to get better than me. And he's referring to the cat at work. He wanted to know what he could do at home on Google Classroom to get him points. Okay, and so that's that. I use it from that perspective, and I haven't got time to go into the other aspect of my talk. But just to round it up, these points, I allow them to go and resubmit the same thing. I will give them comments, say, go, correct this, not so good.
resubmit it, and then points go up.
a lot. Yes.
Okay.
Thank you. I think that, sorry that we're rushing things, but we do want to give everybody that's prepared a chance to at least say something. So if you do have to go, we understand we will not shame you. But Fiona can come up in the meantime. I think that the beauty of this is that everybody feels like they have so much to say. And I know what it's like, Gail, to kind of feel like you have this whole story. I think we felt the same, we all felt the same. But I do want to challenge you is, what are you doing? My challenge to you is, what are you doing with your story? Are you sharing your stories with other teachers? Because there's just so much value. I mean, I'm a nerd, so I could sit until 10 o'clock tonight, maybe some wine would be nice, but I could sit until 10 o'clock tonight and listen and learn, because there's just so much happening, and there's so much good stuff happening. But I really think that I'm challenging myself, and I'm challenging you to say, what are we doing with this? Like, are we sharing? Are we using our Google Plus community page? Are we using social media? Are we actually putting our stuff out there? Because you can sit and talk to your camera or do a screen share and get your story out there. And actually, if I have 5 minutes, maybe I'd like to get something. I just found that so inspiring. Such a different way of looking at things. And we all look at things so differently. So please do not let this be the end of the sharing.
Yeah. Hi everybody, I'm from Fishook. I teach at a little school in Fishook, ICT primary school level. So this is a lesson I did with grade 6. Lindsay asked, what is your she asked someone, what is their favorite Google app? I have to say, at the moment, mine is Google Slides. Because you can just do so many things with Google Slides other than present. And one of them is the Venus adventure story. Okay, so I'm Fiona Neal, and basically, you probably know about these choose your own adventure stories. They were very popular at one stage, where you choose how the story is going to end. And I hate forms like that when you don't know what's happening in the end. But my class was very excited at the idea of doing something where you could have different endings or different choices. So the first thing that I did was I did a bit of research into these adventure stories, discovered that quite a few people are doing them all around the world. So this is on my blog if you want to read the research. But what I discovered is that people don't just use Google Slides, they use Google Forms, YouTube annotations, and also Google Docs. So you can do this in several different ways. Anyway, so the class sort of did individual work and came together, and individual and came together like that. But the main sort of 3 features of this type of activity is the planning and linking slides, and of course the story. So I gave them an example of how I thought the story should work out, and basically it would be 4 stories. And I wanted them all to come to the same conclusion. I think that's my problem. Because I like something to end on. They all had to come to the same conclusion. So things could happen 4 ways. And I gave them a suggested setup for the slides, because you have to have a title so that you can link the different slides together. And I suggested that they have those boxes at the bottom and a picture inside. So we ordered our planning, and I used the mind mapping program for the others for this. So they plan their stories and
sorry, what's the app called?
Dirty minds on this side of the room.
Sorry, bubble us.
So I've got 2 of them that did quite good examples, so I just use theirs. And instead of clicking on the button, just show you very briefly. This story has to be written as though you're the protagonist. So this was about Jeff and Lola, and Jeff wanted to know, should he take Lola in his big camping? And he's got to decide, should he or shouldn't he? So if he does, then go on to what happens. And in this case, Lola was, she didn't see a ball in the field, and what could happen? She gets lost, or she knocks over the tent. And so it goes on. But eventually, all four, the story, they got back home together. So that was okay. And then with Mr. Sunday, same type of thing. Mr. Sunday was a dentist, and somebody owed him a lot of money, and he had to meet this person, and he was a bit nervous. So he started to eat gumbo, or he could climb back into bed. And he started eating the gumbo, still nervous, he would throw up, or he could go and make some chamomile. And eventually, he decides to throw all cups together, and as he's about to throw, there's a place. So it's quite a lot of fun doing these stories.
What buttons did you use? How did you make the buttons interactive?
So that's the next question. So the key thing with using little slides for this kind of story is learn how to link the slides. And so we just made shapes. Oops. Then you pull the shape up a bit because you've got to link it to the slide. You go insert link, find the right slide, click on it, and apply, and then move the slide back. So it's quite simple in the end on how to make the slide. And that's it. Thank you.
Fabulous. Another way that we've done this before, also that Adventure Stories, was actually branching through Google Forms. So if you know how the branching, when you do the page views, the segments, exactly the same. So on the answer, on the Google form, it will be skipped to that page if you click on that answer. So it's another, that's as well as. We are finished with our presenters.
Okay, that's fine.